P4 on Rewind is a chess match at the pro level. It's not just about setups. It's about timings, crossfires, forcing enemies to OE. I will show you exactly how CDLs best create openings and adapt in real time so you can bring that same discipline and adaptation to your games. For my Platinum, Diamond, and Crimson players, is there a preferred side on Rewind P4? Obviously, yes, there is. It ties directly into how P3 transitions into P4. Now, of course, the preferred side is the courtyard, the back courtyard, the back spawn side, like right here, obviously. From here, you naturally get access to head glitches, to hybrid spots, cover spots, crossfire spots around the hill where you can flow into multiple lanes really quickly. Meaning you can get to P1, get out to middle if needed, very, very fast, right? Whereas if you're coming from the other side, the burger side, it is harder because you're often funneling yourself into narrow lanes that can be cut off before you even reach the hill. Data from the CDL backs this up, right? Teams holding from the preferred side consistently average 10 to 15 seconds more compared to when you're holding from or you're playing from the non-preferred side. This is huge in competitive hardpoint, right? It is the difference between scrap and a money hill. But what lanes do we want to prioritize? What lanes do we want to fill? What lanes do we want to flow into? Rewind P4 is very simple. Lanes are everything, right? If you're platinum and above, you can't just flood the hill. You need to structure your holds or your breaks. Think of it like a triangle, right? We want to try and play to control P1 and courtyard. Whoever controls P1 can influence both a mid-map and contest the hill pushes. Meaning if we get someone here, we can contest this, and contest this. P1 is the ultimate hybrid spot. Losing this lane gives the enemy multiple break timings, meaning they can take B Street routes, they can take office routes, go to the left, go to the right, go to 18. It gives them so much utility on how they can break, right? Mid-map, playing for Gen's cut, right? This lane, playing around here, lets you cut off reinforcements like this before you even touch the hill. If you're AR heavy, one AR should always be prioritizing this angle here, around here, right? Because you can help fight, you can help cut, you can get involved in the play. Now, on the bad side, the key is B Street. It is as simple as that. This is going to be often the way you break the hill, the main break point. From the good side, controlling this lane early denies enemy routes into the hill and it keeps the spawns basically stable because you're denying any sort of progression, right? So don't lock yourself into one spot. After every kill, think what lane needs to be filled right now. If P1 is open, based on your conveyor belt system, you pick up and you fill it if you have the timing, if you have the space to do so. If middle collapses, you want to flow out and trade as quick as you can. Static setups get broken, but fluid setups is how you can like blender teams. When it comes to the flow aspect of it, and flow being this conveyor belt system, it's one of two ways. Essentially, the concept is you want to play hard on one side and you want to play soft on the other. Where you play hard, where you play soft is basically going to be dependent on the situation you have in the moment. Let's say we have P3 side, right? And we're playing a high line because we have progression on P3. If you guys haven't seen my P3 video and you want to understand, make sure you watch it. But we're holding progression. We have all the lanes cut, something like this, right? And they're bullying through middle. And he dies. And then he dies, right? And they're pushing through like this. Now, this is where in this situation from a flow perspective, this is how you read the pressure. He's playing hard on one side. He's going to play to buy time, and then they're going to come off spawn. They'll spawn here if they're pushing around like this, and they will refill wherever is necessary and play the wave type for what it is. Understand how much space you can get, predict and anticipate how much space you can get, and be ready for that gunfight. In order to be ready for that gunfight, you play your hybrid spots. So if you know they're hitting here, all right, if I've got an AR based on the weapon that I have, I will play here and I'll play here. Something like this, right? Because now we're in positions where we can all help each other. And he can stay and play a guarantee, play his life, whatever. They can play kills. And then once they get a clean wave, he can use his free life. It works the other way around. You can almost do it like this too. It all depends on what happens during that prior wave. Where are you spawning and where do you need to go? Play hard on one side, play soft on the other. This is the general flow. In the best case scenario, in an ideal world, if you can get into it, you want to get into a setup like this. Something like this. Some variation like this, where you're in positions where you can all help each other. These roles are slightly fluid. You can do either. You could do, you know, something like this. But ideally, in the best world, best case that you can do, you're playing to refill and flow through here and trade kills through here in order to then blend and set up a kill box for these guys here to force and funnel into, to then give yourself the best advantage and the best chance of winning the first kill of the next wave. If you win the first kill of the next wave, you can then set up trades, and it helps you to then, once you have that first kill, you can then trade a 4v3 and you can play aggressive and fluid after that. So essentially that's how you want to flow, right? When you are on this side. Boom, jump scare. Are you paying attention? I don't think you are. Let me just interrupt you real quick with this video. Hope you guys enjoying it so far. Make sure you guys join my Discord. My Discord will be in the description below. The reason why you want to join my Discord is I host viewer 8s, sub 8s, tournaments, coaching sessions, Q&As. Everything in my community goes through Discord. Make sure you join below if you're serious about improving and you want to find like-minded people who will improve. You want to find people for ranked, for challenges, you name it. Stress-free, easy enough. Get involved. If you guys want private coaching, check out my website, dreal.co.uk. It will be in the description below. If you guys want private coaching, you guys want to BS, do whatever you need to do, make sure you check that out. Right, return back to the video. And if this is how you want to flow from the good side, how do you want to break? Well, it determines on where you spawn, right? If you are on the bad side, so the burger side, or spawning like P2 side, you're almost always going to need two waves. The first wave that you have is about getting map pressure, you know, forcing trades through P1, forcing trades through courtyard. So let's say hypothetically we're the red team in this situation, right? Remember, these guys are going to be layering in their flow. So what we want to do is we want to set up a 1-2-1. Ideally, that's our goal, setting up a 1-2-1, right? For the first wave. And we're playing to control what we call progression spots, right? Progression spots meaning this is what we want to hold in order to set up the break and set up a springboard of a break. And right here, we do a 1-2-1. And the reason why we do a 1-2-1 is because this is our pivot right here. He's going to get information of how many people are on the right. He's going to get information of how many people are on the left. And based on that information, the two guys middle will bounce off that to do what they need to do. It could be two guys, it could be one guy. You can decide based on how many kills. You know, if you've made kills, 2 kills, 3 kills, he doesn't have to wait for a second guy. He can just go, right? But that's the general idea, is you want to pivot on every lane. You want to make it feel like for this money hill, you're coming from everywhere. Because when you're coming from everywhere, you make it feel like for the defending team in a setup that they can't hold or do anything, right? The way you minimize an enemy's advantage in a setup is by taking complementary routes that splits the D. You're trying to spread them as much as we can so you can take multiple, you can isolate gunfights in a 1v1 or try and take 2v1s. The reason why money hills become very effective in setups is sometimes they're in a position where they're taking 2v1s. They're taking potentially 3v1s. Hell, they might be even taking 4v1 gunfights, right? Now, the way you can isolate that is by spreading the map. Spreading the map, playing information, understanding how they're set up, because theoretically they could do anything. They could do this, right? And wherever they are the most softest, you want to push up there. And so right here, boom, because then that way you can force them to spawn out and then turn around and play kills if needed, right? Or hell, if these guys are weak, you can play to trade them and kill them and then run forward anyway. So you have both options to do that. That's how you want to break. You want to secure P1 and Courtyard first, deny them pushing out and spawning you in Africa, and then once you get office control and you've traded it, based on whether you get kills B Street or kills on 18, you can use that to come break the time, pushing pairs into the hill, right? Platinum and Crimson players, you need to stop thinking about making hero plays. Instead, it's wave by wave, lane by lane. You don't need 4 down, you need 2 down and the numbers in the right lane. If you get 2 kills and you stack aside and ape, then you're going to be in a good position to break the hill. With that being said, on this hill, trading is everything, as always, right? If your SMG flies in the hill, we need players to be right behind him to finish the fight. You ideally don't want 1v1s to happen. It's as much as you can, right? You want to call out lanes, not just players. 1 in hill doesn't help at this level. You know, what you want to do is be specific with the callouts. Yo, 1 on hill, 1 back left heady, AR. So your team knows who, like spacing, what roles are in them positions to then determine the gunfight. And then you want to stagger your deaths. If you die, I do not want you insta-sprinting. Wait for your teammates, line up a push, stagger your deaths. You don't want to, you want to be careful with dying at the same time, right? Unless you're fighting together. Unless you are fighting together, if the timings aren't there to trade, I don't want you to stagger your deaths. I want you to stay alive, hold progression, then we can trade. It's ideally we all die or we stagger our deaths. That's it. It's not insta sprint in to try and force a trade 1 by 1, 1 by 1, 1 by 1. It's he dies, you hold progression, we're gonna stagger die. We're not gonna die instantly, and then we go. Because you don't want a situation where he's dead, but then he's alive. It's either you're all go and you all die, or you stagger your deaths, basically. That's how you want to do it. What do I want you to do if you are in a disadvantageous position? So if you're in a 3v4, let's say you're the blue team, you're in a 3v4 and you're holding. Let's say you've been, someone scammed for whatever reason. I want you to stack a lane. Stack a lane with 2 people. Try and take the same fights. Bait a kill, and then push together, right? You don't have numbers to flood in this situation, sorry. Let's say 3v4 in a break, right? Just stack a lane. Stack a lane. 2v3, you're buying time. Play tucked in corners if you're the defending team. Let's say the 2 of you is in the hill. Or 1 of you is in the hill, 1 here against 3 people. All you're trying to do is just buy time, right? You want to make them overextend like this. Make them overextend. Make it so you're a very difficult gunfight and you're going to get 1 at the very least by buying as much time as you can. Let your teammates come off spawn to help because it's sticky. 1v3, 1v4. Your job isn't to break. You're just trying to stay alive, hold progression, force 1 kill, open a time in. Don't waste your life running into the hill if you're in the attacking position. Your job, if you're the only one alive in a break and the rest of your teammates have died, just hold progression somewhere. Just stay alive. Hold the progression points. These are what we call progression points. Hold this. Hold this. Just do something to stay alive. The difference at Platinum versus Crimson is patience and efficiency. Numbers matter. If you can delay 10 seconds if you're holding, or if you can hold progression on a wave, and you can set up a 4v4 team push, assuming you haven't made any kills, instead of a rushed 2 versus 4, then you're giving yourself, like your team, the chance to break the hill entirely and then flip. So takeaway from you guys for Plat and Crimson, winning P4 isn't about stacking the hill. It's about winning the lanes, trading smart, and knowing how to play when you're outnumbered. The preferred side obviously is going to make it easier, but disciplined lane control and flow is going to win you the game or win you the hill a majority of the time on both holding and breaking. Easy as that. So for you Iri players, I want to kind of talk about timings a little bit, especially when it comes to P4. So when P3 is still up, it's one of a few things when you don't have, say, the spawns that you want for P4 or like the side that you want for P4, and you say like you're spawning burger, you're spawning P2, right? So it'll be entirely dependent on where you're spawning, first of all, and then what progression you have in the situation you're in. So let's say you have P3, and there's about 25 seconds left, right? They have no progression, you guys have P1 control. Now these are the situations where you want to like hive mind and put yourself in positions to get through together and take fights together in order to flip, right? You want to be taking AR fights on the B street. You want to try and pick, and you want to try and bump the guy off time and run forward with the kills to try and spawn them out, right? And again, it's going to be entirely dependent on what progression you already have, what space you already have, if you've already made kills. You know, you can't run forward if you haven't made kills, right? So you play the wave as it is. Understand what space they have, what positions they have, how many kills you're looking for, and hold that progression, but get close enough to each other so you can trade it and use it and do it, right? But let's say we're in situations where we're spawning P2, right? Use the spawn that you're given. Your spawn is telling you something. And we're in situations where they've pushed out here something like this, right? They have everything. Now, this is a situation where you're trying to early rotate. You understand the situation you're in. You're in a disadvantageous blender situation. So you want to, as the first guy, take a route to play ahead to get through, right? And then the second guy, third guy can play for P1 because we understand P1 is very important. And then the last guy can take a burger route, right? And then ultimately what we're trying to do is we're taking routes that are open because of the spawn that we're given, because of how we predict and anticipate they're going to be, in order to then try and flip forward and spawn them behind us anyway, right? When you do it and how you do it is going to be very important, and it's entirely situational. If you're late to the rotation, what I don't want you guys to do is start forcing this route when you're already late, when you have to fight for P3, when they're going to be picking it up early, right? If they're going to be picking it up early and you're late, at that point, I would rather you guys play for P1 and then play through all time and then ape out something together, right? Now, once P4 is popped and we know exactly where they potentially could be spawning, the first 15 seconds are like the most crucial. That first wave is the most crucial, right? That rotation wave. You want to try and avoid stacking hill super early, right? What you want to try and do is you want to try and prioritize cutting lanes off P1, Gen, Burger. But how you do it and what hybrid spots you do it on are going to be entirely dependent on the wave before. So let's say you've just been completely wiped. You're the blue team in this situation. You have been completely wiped. They have P3. They're coming through like this, but you still spawn here, right? You want to try and refill and get through this side of the map, but understanding that they're going to be moving up at the same time. So you want to play positions where you can't exactly run all the way down without getting caught sprinting. So you need to predict that and you need to play the wave for what it is. You're not overstacking the hill, but you're playing tight enough, understanding that you can't get more space unless you play the wave together, right? This is like a stabilization timing, basically, right? If you survive this wave, then you can push out and trust the flow and bump on the flow, right? You get this wave, you're going to get 15-20 seconds uncontested because now they're going to be spawning deep and you can push out and set up how you want. So it's really about, from a timing perspective, understanding what space can you get, understanding the situation you're in from the prior wave before, understanding where they're coming from, where the pressure's coming from in the flow, where you want to pick up from a game plan perspective, and what spots can you play with an AR or an SMG to guarantee them kills in the next wave. That's like the biggest thing from a timing perspective. A mistake I see iridescent players make is they'll try and do too much. They'll come off spawn without any kills and try and go all the way down to 18. This is like a step 2 play, not a step 1 play. Your step 1 is get kills first. Get your kills first as the step 1. Put yourself in positions to trade, because if you die, you're gonna spawn out. There is no layering opportunity. And then once you make kills, say you're in a 4v2, he's dead and he's dead, right? They're gonna be spawning out. And then you can trade out and play fast together, but only until you've got the kills. You can't exactly play fast and take as much space as you want. And then when you get to the mid-hill timings, 30-40 seconds left, that's like one more wave, right? Recognize where the pressure is coming from, right? So you should know at this point what the wave is, where they're coming from, where they're spawning, and where you guys are pushing. And from that, you can get specific information by calling out, using your free life. Let's say we have a free kill here, guys, right? Let's say we get a clean wave here, right? You guys are trusting the flow. Well, the first guy could use his free life, and the reason why he can use his free life is you've just got a clean wave. he can use his free life. If he dies, he's going to spawn up good to then refill where he needs to anyway. And then that way you can then soak the next wave and then help each other with the free life on the next wave, right? When you use that free life here, guys, as an iridescent player, you don't want to have multiple people using the free life. These guys need to play safety net spots, right? Because you don't want to overextend and chase kills. You want to let the game come to you, except for this guy where possible. His job is to get the first kill of the wave and to get specific info. Because once you get specific information, he can trade, and he's going to spawn up good anyway to refill where the pressure's coming from. By him using his free life, as long as these guys are in safety net spots and you let the game come to you, the red team have to clear so many different angles, they can't just run towards the hill. Now, if they get 2 kills, well, what are they going to do? They're going to take their 4v2 situation and they're just going to run towards time. They're just going to trade. They're just going to bang it out and ape. This is what we call aping. And so they're not even going to care about clearing anything because they want to die in order to trade, right? Let their timings burn. Let the game come to you. And then what you have is the last 20 seconds. It's just scrap time, right? This is when you play ahead for P5. Like, don't worry so much about getting the last 10 seconds of a P4. Play the next timing window rather than squeezing every second, because then it can set you up for a flip and then set you up for a good clean P5 wave. For my Iri players, baiting and switching, when you're inside the hill, I don't want my, if you're an AR, for example, inside the hill, I don't want you ego challenging unless you're ego challenging with people, right? Shoulder peek. Slide cancel, shoulder peek, dance corners, get that specific info, throw stun, throw a nade. If he's going to challenge and get info, you can slide cancel, pre-fire chal off that while he's challenging at the same time. He has to stay alive. He cannot die. So you're going to be shouldering for him, ironing if you need to, as long as he's in a position to help you, right? He could be an SMG, taking the fights. You've got number 3 out courtyard, taking the fights. So essentially, you want to keep baiting and switching and try and take the same fights together. This is where you communicate. Your ARs are going to be baiting off sightlines. If your ARs challenging gens here, then you guys can chow off that. If your SMGs are collapsing, you can chow off that. It's basically just understanding when you guys are getting kills, just chow together. Simple as that. If you're not going to chow together, you bait. If you're going to chow together, then you can die. Go die. I don't care if you die, right? At the pro level, from a flow perspective, this is our conveyor belt. If you're the first guy and you're one shot, just go and die, right? If you have the lowest hit points, if you're in the worst position, if you're the first guy out, just go and die. If you are here, you are one shot, you're in a 4 versus 3 to trade, go die. Drag aim assist. Go get bullets into people, right? I don't care. I don't want you staying alive and then him getting isolated. No, I'd rather you get 1 or 2 more bullets into people to help with this guy, to then help this guy and slow down the push. Elite teams don't win by gunning. They win by deciding who is going to die. This is going to sound weird, but learn how to die and when to die. If you are the first guy and you have numbers, you better be dying. You better be setting up your teammates, because even just him doing this and him doing this is going to set up the blue guy to kill these 2. Right? I need you to understand this from a macro level. Now, pacing is a big one for you, Iri and top 250 guys, is your SMG and your AR synchronization. So normally you'll have 3 ARs on this hill, usually, right? So with that SMG, he has a lot of freedom to do whatever he wants, ideally, because your ARs are going to be flowing through the same hybrid spots in the same power positions, right? But it's very important when you're breaking, usually you're going to have 2 SMGs, that they're waiting for their AR players and vice versa. So let's say in this situation here where the red team trying to break, remember the 1-2-1 we're talking about, pacing is very important because these 2 have to stay alive in order for it to work. Because then he's going to get info on this guy, he's going to get info on this guy. That's 2 people out of the play, which then allows these guys, wherever they're weakest, to then do something based on that. If these guys die, the ARs are isolated, right? So we want to be careful with wave staggering. You got to be careful with sending 4 at once, unless it's like you're trading out completely, right? Send a 2-2. Ideally, you want to send a 3-1, a 2-2, something like a 1-2-1 in this case, right? And then you can get multiple timings because you're taking complementary routes. You're taking complementary routes from different angles to take the same fight, but from different ways, right? Tempo shifts, right? Slow it down when you're up in numbers, right? When you have numbers on a hold, you can slow it down except for the guy using his free life. Or you can speed it up when you're trying to break and you have numbers. So that's what we call speed tempo. That's what we call pacing. If you've got numbers when you're trying to break, you kill him, just go. You gotta fly. You gotta fly, you gotta play to die, you gotta ape, you gotta spawn him out. But when you've got kills, when you're holding, except for one guy playing his free life, you child together, you can slow it down, child together, let the game come to you. At this level, pacing isn't really about going fast. It's about attacking in rhythm with each teammate's position and basically the respawn cycle. So what are some naughty little crossfires that you can get into when you are holding the hill? Goes without saying, 118, one courtyard. They're all helping each other like this. This is a naughty little crossfire. One guy here, one guy here. Basically that's it. You can have a crossfire when you're trying to break, be street like this. You can do it on the same for 18 like this. But ideally, yeah, it's simple enough. It's not too difficult when it comes to crossfires. You're just trying to isolate gunfights basically and trying to shoot from different angles. Pros are really good at basically trying to engineer crossfights every single wave. You're not really trying to have clean one-on-ones. You're trying to make it as like unfair as possible. Now, when it comes to playing ahead, I want you to use a cut-off mentality. I want two players to rotate for new. One flows ahead of the hill into the enemy routes. So, for example, you want to play for mid-map, you want to play for 18. First guy, play for courtyard. You're trying to get information specifically early. And then with that, you're going to pre-read the enemy's next push. So, when your ARs are in hybrid spots, you can understand exactly where they're spawning. You understand what routes they're potentially taking. You understand the timings. You understand the tracking. If that's the first guy on this lane, where's the second guy, where's the third guy, that can give you a process of elimination aspect, prediction aspect of where the break is coming from. Cutting is very important. Basically, that's it when it comes to playing ahead, when it comes to reading off pressure and then basically adapting off pressure. Your setups you're never really going to get into like a perfect setup every single time. They're going to break eventually, and this is where you have makeshift setups. The difference is how you makeshift on the fly. If spawns flip, that's fine. Identify where the lane is open, right? And then try and fill it or try and get eyes on it. Let the game come to you. Always try and re-wrap, re-rotate, play the lanes, reshuffle rather than just holding static power spots. This is what we call makeshift. When you're down numbers, you don't want to stack the hill. Pull one player out. He can bait. He can take timings. You don't want to get boxed in. You want to try and get out of a funnel and a box as much as you can. So yeah, you can have two people stacking the hill. Like let's say in this situation here, you got two people stacking the hill. We're close. They're banging through like this, right? He's dead. Well, this guy can take Charles together. This guy can go into office. He can try and get out, do something, rather than just being boxed in and just dying from all ways. You want to try and do something. You can try and do something. You can let them overextend one side, but then get out the other side. If the opponents have three people gen side, let them have it. Let them collapse through. You're basically just flipping the map on them. You then take this side of the map to hold crossfires. Same thing. You're letting the game come to you. Adaptability is everything. Reposition. Rather than waiting for team wipes to reset. So basically, you're just adapting to where the pressure's coming from, and you're just trying to take Charles basically while your teammates are playing lives. Okay, yeah. So some takeaways for P4 for you guys. It's not just a money hill. It's a control hill that sets you up for P5 and resets momentum. You need to master your timing windows. So your first 15 seconds versus mid-hill versus scrap time, 20. Use bait and switch discipline, guarantee trades, guarantee fights, guarantee the first kill of the next wave. You want to, most importantly, when you are breaking, keep the waves synced across all four players. If you're making kills and you have progression, use that and play fast. If you're at a disadvantage and you don't have numbers for a break, hold progression, wait for teammates, then do it again. Read the enemy setup. Where are they hard? Where are they softest? Use that to bait and switch and trade wherever they're softest to then block spawns and spawn them out. Engineer crossfires that make breaks impossible from both sides. So if you're coming from the burger side in this situation and you're not fast enough to spawn them out because you need two waves usually in order to break, well, you can play makeshifts in here and you can keep them at the back, crossfires here, in order to keep them in one spot like this. Playing one step ahead is very important for money hills on both sides. It's a money hill for a reason, so you want to prioritize trying to get the good spawns for the money hill because it sets up the next wave. Then you can read the pressure, you can play power spots, trust the flow, fill, layer, all of these different concepts. And then adapting instantly when a lane collapses. You lose B street control, you don't have to, tweak and panic. You can keep holding your positions and have one guy just taking a route, taking space and taking fights on the other side and let them come to you. The game doesn't change. That's going to be the difference between, your pro players and like your Crimson players as an example. It's not just about raw gunny, but it's about, your time, your pace, and adapting around P4. Everything that I cover in these videos comes straight from my experience as a world champion CDL coach. So you're getting the same principles that I teach at the highest level of play. If you want to keep leveling up with pro standard insights, make sure you subscribe, make sure you drop a comment and tell me what hill or what map do you want me to break down next. This channel is about building smarter players, is to teach you guys on this journey that we have together from bronze all the way up to pro. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.